I just want to laugh more.
You will laugh.
Oh, yeah. I'm fed up with drama, especially at my age when you know the end is nearer than the beginning. So
Can I say something?
I just want to laugh.
Golf.
Before I'd be like, what limb do I have to cut off to make this scene 3% better?
And when I signed that 9-picture deal to do Nick Fury, it's like, how long I gotta stay alive to do 9 pictures?
So when I first started playing Loki, I was like, okay, he's a son. I know what that is. He's a brother. I know what that is. You find your own way through it.
Welcome to the Hollywood Reporter Roundtables. I'm really excited about the group of actors we have today. We're going to talk about your careers, these projects, and a whole lot else, so we can get started. All right, we're going to start easy. When a fan comes up to you on the street, what's he likely to recognize you from, or she, and what does he or she often say?
Well, on the way over here, it was funny. I was sitting on the seat in the plane, and I just felt a little like a letter fall on my seat. And then someone walked away, and I looked at it, and it was in this like blue highlighter with the little moon on it. So for the Moon Knight show that I just done, and it was just like my mother would have disowned me if I didn't say something.
Oh, what did I say?
And it was like as a person of color, how much it means to me that you're out there doing these things.
Yeah,
It's really, really sweet. Yeah.
What a nice thing, though, for somebody to lay that on you.
Sweet.
Have you ever done that? I've actually done that. I've dropped. If I see somebody, I'll slide them, then I'll get out of the way. If you see somebody do something great, just tell them. Yeah. I think it was Maggie Gyllenhaal was the last one.
I love that.
Well, I'll say this, and I don't know, Quincy and Oscar, how you guys feel, but sitting with you three gents, I grew up watching you, so it's an honor to be at the same table.
Oh, thanks.
I grew up watching Sam.
I haven't grown up yet. So.
Easy to do. I do way too much.
My thing is that people ask me to tell them to fuck off all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, does that get awkward?
Well, it's not the easiest thing to say to people. Fuck off. It's so easy when people say, would you, I mean, it started when I was playing LBJ, and I came out one night, and there was this young couple, very nice, very sweet, about 17 and a boyfriend, and they had a video, and they said, could you tell us to fuck off, please? And I said, fuck off. I mean, it's unbelievable. But the worst I had was here in LA when I went to a meeting of Ronan Farrow, and it was a Me Too thing, and he was launching the book, and all these Hollywood women were there, and they were watching. It was very intense. And I came in late, and it was organized by Rosanna Arquette, and I was standing at the back, and it was a really good thing, and big round of applause. And then they all turned around, and they saw me, and they took the camera and said, "Can you tell us to fuck off?"
Oh my gosh!
And I said, "This is a Me Too meeting. Is this really proper to be asking me to tell you to fuck off at a Me Too meeting? And then does that mean then I get cancelled?"
You're correct.
That's the next step.
It's a setup.
I remember you saying it to me, but it wasn't that pleasant.
No. I was younger then.
What do you get, Sam?
It used to be what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in France, but generations change.
I thought you were also going to have a curse word that I will not.
No, people ask me to call them motherfucker all the time.
Got it, yeah. That's what I figured.
Or they'll ask me to put it on their, answering machine. They'll literally said, would you do my, answering machine? And I go, what? This motherfucker's not home right now. All that, and the motherfucker will call you back. And they'll go, oh my God, that's amazing! So that's it. Yeah.
You can charge them.
I was just thinking.
Yeah, you can make money out of it,
Yeah.
I don't want to gouge the public. I charge them enough to come to my movies.
Yeah. Because you could say, that's $50, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. They'd be like, huh?
Here's something.
Or people that want to make videos, just that, I will, take a photo with you, take a selfie. I get paid to make movies, so we're not making videos.
Really?
Draws the line.
I love it. All right, Quincy, this is the very first thing that you have done. You're all of a sudden playing Magic Johnson. Yeah. It's an HBO series. It's Adam McKay. I've heard you say that going in production, you had to sort of get your head straight. I'm going to quote you here. Started going to therapy and really just bracing myself for what was about to come my way. Now I'm ready for it. Which sounds like someone gave you a great piece of advice. But I'm curious sort of what that entailed and how do you prepare yourself? And then I'm going to open up to the rest of you because you've all been in his shoes. How do you prepare yourself?
Yeah, I think it's just, I knew, being on the HBO, Adam McKay, all of that, and playing Magic, it should be a fun show and a lot of people gonna be watching it. So I just, I don't know, I just knew that it was gonna be a lot of eyeballs on me. So it's like, get everything out now and then come back and just be smart about like the way you gonna move through the world. Yeah.
That's very smart.
Yeah, like, and just like understand that people are gonna be coming up to you. How is that gonna make you feel? Like, are you gonna be comfortable with that?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I didn't wanna.
You went to therapy for that?
Yeah, man.
Really?
That's very mindful, man. That's a very mindful approach.
That's something. Well, I didn't even know that kind of shit was available.
Yeah.
When it happened, it just happens.
Such a smart idea, though. Somebody tell you to do that, or
No,
Good
because
for
like
you,
it's
man.
just I love acting. I love to do the work, but like I didn't want to have people coming up.
Yeah.
But like I started understanding that it's like part of the gig, and like also just it's fun. Like people excited about your work.
Yeah.
Like it's cool. So just tried to flip my mindset of it.
Good for you.
So have you separated them liking you or them liking your work?
Good question.
Have you separated that?
Yeah. I mean, I think even with all these meetings and stuff, I just know that I'm there because of the work that I've done. It's not, they don't know me. Like everybody, they love you, we love you.
Yeah.
You don't know me. But
Ordinary
like,
people do though.
Yeah.
What do you
The
mean?
girls are looking at you on social media just like you.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck about your work.
Well, they like the perception.
It's a different, it's a different head. I didn't think about that because when things kind of happen, or I did enough things, or some things, like being in Spike Lee movies, put me in another kind of world in the summers, after that happened. But there were always people, I never had to lead in those Spike Lee movies, so it didn't matter. So I didn't know if people knew me or not. Because I could be with Bill Nunn, who was Radio Raheem, and Giancarlo, who was bugging out, and people would be flipping over him, and I'd just be standing there, and they had no idea who I was. It was one of those kind of things.
But do you remember when, I mean, for all of you, do you remember going from, nobody knows who I am, there's anonymity, to all of a sudden I am a recognizable person? Usually it's a project that sort of changes that for you. And were you, in the way that Quincy's talking about it, sort of prepared for it?
For me, it was all the answers to every question so far is Loki. That's what people come up to me in the street and say, and absolutely that was the thing that changed.
What did they say?
Oh, there was a hilarious one. I was walking the dog one wet Wednesday in a park in London. The summer after Infinity War came out, the spring. And a group of school kids were playing nearby on a break, and there was sort of heads turning, and I thought, okay, well, they've seen the movie. And then as they were walking away, I heard this shout. I was walking up the hill. I heard this shout say, "Loki!" I was like, "Yep, hi, that's me. Are you really dead?" I was like, what an extraordinary existential question to be asked on a Wednesday morning. Like, am I really dead? Well, not right now.
Happened before.
Wouldn't it be great if the kid never even saw the movie? He was literally asking
me that.
question. When you think about it.
So good. Yeah.
Wait, so how do you respond?
I said, I didn't say anything. I was just like, nice to see you. Have a good day. Because, don't want to give out the Marvel spoilers. Turns out Loki wasn't really dead.
No.
In another timeline.
No.
But in answer to that question, I think it was Loki that kind of, and I don't know how you feel, Quincy, but it's strange that moment when you're doing the thing that you always do in your life, going to grab a coffee or going to get groceries, and you're like, oh, I didn't, and then somebody comes up to you, or you're like, oh, right, I'm just doing a really ordinary thing today. I didn't see that coming.
And they look at you like it's like different. It's like you doing the same thing. It's literally somebody right next to you doing the same thing.
You grocery shop?
Yeah.
But the internet changed all that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I remember that the incidences I was talking about was pre-internet.
Sure.
So, I mean, when I was at when I was doing Die Hard or something, I would actually walk around see how many people would recognize me.
Just like for sport, like actually to.
Yeah.
Did you have a sign?
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
I didn't. I just walk around. I stand on the corner in New York. Nothing.
Okay, so what were the projects for you guys where?
I'm so interested to hear what you guys say.
Like that where you felt your whole world kind of change.
I think I valued my anonymity.
Yeah.
And because people would say, "Were you?" And you go, "No." Were you? No. I mean, I used to get confused with Albert Finney. I loved the fact that people didn't know who I was, and they said, "Oh, and I said, "Well, maybe." And then they would see things, and some people would recognize it. But since I've been playing this role, it's been impossible, and it's hard. It's not easy because I've been in this business for, Jesus Christ, I've been in this business since 1961.
Yeah.
So that's a long
Since Jesus Christ, actually.
So was Jesus Christ. He was in the business for a long time as well. So it's very hard, when you've prized yourself on being, dodging and weaving and bobbing and weaving and with the profession, and suddenly you come up with a role like I'm playing at the moment, and you go, no, there's no going back.
No.
This is it. You sort of paid the dues, and now you're paying more dues.
Yep. Buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up.
So, would you have an incident though? I mean, where things happen like Michael. I mean, I've known Michael. In my mind, I've known Michael forever. Because I've been watching his career forever before I was even this person.
Yep.
That could say, "Hey, Mike, how you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. I felt like I knew him because we knew his characters. But he's also been this person that doesn't get stuck in that character.
No.
We can go from Beetlejuice to something else, to something else, to something else, and he's very different. But he's Michael Keaton, this actor that's this guy who does these very great characters. But some people get stuck in a thing, and they can't break that because they didn't let themselves break it.
But you fought really hard to break. I mean, you really pushed to break that. You turned down things to break that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was yes. Thanks, by the way.
And you went reclusive for a while.
Yeah. And I'm a cake and eat it too guy. Like I want it all. I want to have my own life and and just live a normal life. But then I want to work. And so everything that everyone was saying, that's just what comes with it. In terms of the opportunities to play everything, I created it. I did, and I'm proud of the fact that I wrote it out and not only said no to things, I kind of thought, how am I going to do this, But I set it up early on that I could possibly have the opportunity to play different things. And had I not, had somebody said, you know what, not for nothing, we really don't care what else you want to play. We want you to be that guy. I probably would have done that and, make a living. And I don't think I'd been very happy.
Oscar, I've heard you talk a little bit about, now you're at a place where you do have to say no. You can't do everything that's coming your way. Presumably you remember a time when that wasn't the case. And I've heard you say it's almost harder to say no and more stressful to say no than it was to wait for those yeses for all those years. Can you speak to that? Like, why? How so?
Yeah, it's like my therapy sessions were more about, it's like how do I get off the fix of work, the constant, it's connected with approval and wanting to be included, and also the biggest window of my life as an actor has been wanting to get opportunities, wanting someone to say yes, and it's been a very small window of being able to say no, having the luxury to say no. So it takes like building those synapses to be able to like chemically be able to say no in my brain and not feel like I'm destroying my life in some way, And I've got young kids, and this is the first time in 20 years I've taken the year off, by not being on a set. And it's weird. I'm also so happy to be able to do that. And
you can afford to take a year off.
I can afford to do
But
it.
that's a
and I
big-
can emotionally I can afford to do it.
Yeah,
It's
man.
a huge deal.
Yeah, it is.
To be able to do that. But the even harder thing, like for you, Quincy, is going to be like, what do you do next?
Yeah.
There used to be a time when we pounded the pavement. We went to auditions. You go to 5 auditions a week. Hopefully you get a call back or you get a job. You took the job they gave you.
Yeah.
And then when the thing happens and the thing breaks, you're like, okay, what do I do next? All of a sudden you have 4 scripts sitting on a desk that you're reading, and you have to make a choice. And that's when things get hard.
Really hard.
You know, that's when things get difficult because you can make a wrong choice and be like, oh shit, that was a horrible moment.
Yeah, certainly you're kind of getting outside of yourself and having to look at like, what do I want to be? You know, all these questions that are not interesting only, but that you're kind of forced to ask.
Two things. Good for you for doing it because you have kids. And some of the reasons why I kind of laid low was I always wanted to be a dad, and then I got the opportunity to be a dad. So I thought, man, if I lose money, I'm good with it. And I was having this conversation with Bill Hader the other day, and he's was going through something. I said, dude, trust me. Hang out with your kids as much as you can, as long as you can. You will never regret it. You'll look back. You're going to lose some jobs. It's okay. In the long run, that's the thing. And you're right, man. That thing of saying I don't. Now it's different. Now it's all different because now I have many opportunities. Then you got to be smarter about how you do things. In the old days, I remember I was in London with Jack Nicholson. We were doing Batman, and we were going. He was going somewhere, and he said, "Come on, come along with me." Which is an experience in and of itself.
You need more there.
Yeah. So we're in the car, and he's talking about this movie. He says, Keats, if this hits, which we all knew it was like a huge risk. If it goes down, you're going down in the largest way. You're going down in flames, and that's going to be a big, hard recovery. But I always knew if it worked, this could be a game changer and change my landscape, right? So Jack says, this thing's a hit. You can go out and do 4 or 5 flops and don't even worry about it. He was maybe not 4 or 5, but used to be, you got away with 3. Didn't matter. Not now, man. Right? One missed, which is fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean,
how many bites of the apple do you get?
Yeah.
I definitely think in a similar way, this one that I just did, Moon Knight, for me, felt the same way. Like, man, if I go, I'm going to go down hard on this thing. Because just the level of embarrassment that it would be, once you throw on a cape, you know what I mean? It's like,
but
and you're out in front of it, it's like, holy shit, I'm really doing this.
See, the interesting thing, though, the interesting thing about all of that, though, was that you kind of had a little path from like Star Wars to this next thing to like, Dune's fucking amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Dune is amazing.
Little to do with me, but
little to do with any of us. I was talking to Tom about that very same thing. When I signed that 9-picture deal to be Nick Fury, it's like, how long I got to stay alive to do 9 pictures? Not knowing they were going to make 9 pictures in like a year and a half. I was going to be in them. But when you pick a path or you find a way to get into these franchise-like things that are huge successes, that give you the opportunity to do these other things. That give you that artistic satisfaction while you're doing that movie star satisfaction thing. Big check, take care of the family. I can take some time off.
Yeah. Well, the trick was
all those things.
With this one was like,
make it work.
Can I do both? It was like, can you smuggle in the thing that matters to me, right? The reason why I like doing it, the what I love to do, and every morning when that alarm goes off, to be excited to get to work and not just be like, I got to get through this to get that check, whatever, And it seemed like this was an opportunity, I think because of the TV landscape and because, strangely enough, there does seem to be a lot more risk-taking in the television, for sure, area right now, that we got a chance to do this bizarre thing that happened to be in the case of a superhero genre film. But to use that kind of mythology to actually do something real and to, do kind of maximalist work.
But it's interesting, like normally Marvel calls and people say yes fairly immediately. That wasn't, you were hesitant.
It was so much about like, is this the stupidest thing? Is this a smart thing? What does this mean? It was such a kind of mental torment just to make a decision.
Sure. So what are the reassurances that you needed to sort of get there?
That it was going to be, it was in there, but also that it was like, that it was going to be a team, that like we were all going to want to be making the same thing. I think that's for me super important because it's a collaborative medium.
But don't you find that we all are in positions where we've constantly subsidized ourselves for the next job?
What does that mean? I like that.
Well, subsidize means that, you earn a bit of money for one job and then you go off and do lunchtime theater. And
exactly.
You guys don't do that, but we do that. That's part of our culture. But even so, I still think in movies you do the same. You know,
One for them, one for
one
me.
for that, one for that. You say, oh, that one is okay, and this is fine. This is where I'm heading. I'll do that one. Oh, that wasn't so good. Okay, so I earn enough from that one, so I can go on to that one. And I think that happens more than we admit, really.
Sure.
You know, so it's much more chaotic. You know, and yet sometimes out of that chaos there is a career. You know, there's a career like you two. You know, definitely. There's definitely a career. You know, all of us actually. You know,
But I think the wonderful thing, though, the discovery for me of long-form television,
yeah, the
in
best
terms
thing.
of what it is streaming, doing a series, whatever, is the satisfaction of delving into that character in a way that I didn't have in an hour and a half.
Absolutely.
I think you're absolutely right, Sam.
I
because
sat home and I did it in my head, but I couldn't present it to the people.
Well,
There was
I
stuff
think-
that I wanted
think
people to
that's
see
kicked a
about
lot-
me that I couldn't show.
I think that's kicked movies into touch a lot.
Yeah.
You know, because in movies it's 3 acts, first, second, and third.
Yeah.
Whereas in long form it's an endless second act.
Yeah.
And the endless second act, you can do so much in that second act, and it serves, particularly, I think, from our point of view as actors, it serves us brilliantly. You know, I think television is wonderful like that, and American television has caught up. We've been lucky because Tom and I, because we come from a good tradition of television. Yeah. But the only time that television was bad, and he was probably a nipper then, was in the 90s in the UK when it was really shit. I thought if I'm going to get paid for crap, I'd rather get paid for crap in America than get paid for crap in the UK. And that was my decision. My decision to go to here, and I, you know, because I'd been a leading theater actor and all that. I decided I'm going to be a character actor. I don't want the burden of that anymore, and I want to do what I always wanted to do as a kid, which was do movies. And I came and I did 5 movies. I wrote an article called "A Year of Actioning Badly," you know, which was doing these movies, which were tough going, you know, and you know, it was hard. But and I could observe how difficult it was for people like you and Andy Garcia on the film that we did. How difficult that was, and we were in a slightly better film together. It was a slightly better script. But you could see what the difficulty it was, and how that opening weekend was marking people's careers. And I just thought, I don't want anything to do with that. I don't want to be in that situation where my whole life is depending on that opening weekend. So I'm going to stick to just coming on, doing 2 scenes, and then buggering off. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
I think you do.
But you know
the
what?
responsibility of that is weird. You know, it's very weird. It's very strange. It's like I was trying to figure out how you kids are going to measure what your success is in terms of how you move the comma on your check.
Yeah.
In a streaming world. Because we had a barometer, asses in seats.
Yep.
You know, that was the barometer. What's the barometer now?
It feels like social media is like a big thing for our generation.
Totally.
And like they, you know, like want you to grow your presence on there, and it's just like,
Yeah, see how many followers you got before you get the job?
I'm like,
We need at least 3 million followers before we can consider you for this.
Quite literally.
before I booked this, that was every role that I went out for. It was like, how many followers do you have?
Wow.
And I didn't have a following, so.
So you were.
Television in that way has created more opportunity than the movies has.
Yeah,
it
for
really
sure.
has. I mean, it's just because, as Sam says, because of the long form, it's created enormous opportunities for us to do stuff in a way. And there's a lot of great stuff out there.
But Quincy, I'm curious for you. I mean, to the point of like when you think about the second thing you do, and I imagine it comes with pressure for all the reasons they are saying it does. How are you thinking about it? Do you want to do something that's totally different? Do you,
I can't smile as much this next time.
Man.
It's so much smiling.
It's a lot of smiling.
But like,
That's who he is.
Clear and simple.
Just happens to be who he is.
Just one big smile.
it was like, did you practice that magic smile? I'm like, nah, I've had these same teeth my entire life.
See, but you've also passed a hurdle now that a lot of your contemporaries have not. You know, it's so weird because when we were casting Ptolemy, the show that I did, you know, you could tell who was at home reading with their sister or their brother.
Right.
You know, it's a lot of self-tape. They're not in the room
Right.
with the casting people.
Yeah.
Like we used to be.
Yeah.
We used to go in and, you know, you sit there, you go in a room, and all the other actors you know are there. Now, people are at home sending tapes to people.
Yeah.
And they're acting with their mom.
Yep.
You know, they've
And can you
already
feel
done
that?
the other
I know,
side for themselves.
But I think there's a huge downside to
Oh
that.
my God.
A huge downside.
I can't
because,
imagine how difficult that would
I
have
have a
been.
son who's an actor, and you know, he spends a fortune doing all that stuff, and there's no record, and he never sees anybody, and he never gets any comeback.
Feedback. No feedback,
No
nothing.
feedback. He does the
yeah.
stuff. He puts it out there, and he's a good actor, my kid, and he puts it out there, and he gets no feedback. And through COVID, it was. He almost became suicidal because it was just impossible for him during that
It's
time.
insane.
And I think this is true of a lot of particularly young actors now, what they have to deal with. You know, we met the casting. You think of the great Marion Doherty's and those great casting.
Right.
But
Even if you
really-
didn't get that job, they remembered you.
Exactly.
You did such a great audition the last time.
and it
I
goes-
had to call you back in for these
Exactly, and that doesn't happen anymore.
A good one does.
Pre-pandemic, I did go into a few rooms and like I was able to build up that rapport with casting directors, but like since then I haven't read in front of anybody. It's
Well,
all
and also it's
self-tape.
going to encourage a laziness that they won't go back to that time when they were casting directors, you met them. Because they think, oh, it's so easy, we get the actors to do it. And you go, no, you're kind of like in a union where we've got to stop it. We've got to stop that going on. We don't want that anymore for young actors. We don't want young actors put in that difficult position where they can't even afford to, you know, have a dinner at night, you know.
Do you think?
gotta
Do you think like that has changed people's perception of what acting even is? Like, I wonder how that's changed for you guys as well. You know, like it just seems to me sometimes like lately I feel like there's been a misperception, not even a real education or understanding in the public, especially in this country, of what it even is.
For sure. I was having this conversation the other day. I'm kind of fascinated by how people know, and I mean, I see performances and I go, man, that's a really good performance. That person's really good. But how did they know? Because people learn through osmosis almost. There's so much media, and I think some kid who was 8 years old, you know, maybe 5, you know, 10 years ago or something like that, he's so indoctrinated to, look, somewhere when, I'll just speak for myself, my goal is always try to be as original as you can be, or have your own thought. Create something that really came from you. Yet, everything we do came from something I remember from school or something that happened to me in the street. I actually had a gun to my head one time, so I go, I'm going to hang on to that. You know what I mean?
That'd be
That's
useful.
going to work for me somewhere down the road. And all those experiences lead to something, right? Because you use them, right? Now, I don't think there's that connection to things. Like I'd be curious to see where people's performances come from, because I think it's a knockoff of a knockoff of a knockoff of a knockoff. I'm sure I was influenced by some actor somewhere. I can guarantee you. I probably can say, oh man, I remember that thing you did. That's the hippest move. The thinking behind it was so cool. I'm going to steal that. But now, man, it's removed from that. And people are weirdly kind of good though. Right. I go.
They got more examples.
But
Look how
don't you
many good
think, don't you
kids there
think
are,
the
good kid actors.
magic, I always find the magic is what happens between you.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and that's what, when you're
doubt.
doing self-tapes or you're auditioning, you're doing it on your own.
Yeah, that's
right.
And you're not experiencing the most exciting work I feel I've been a part of is when you're in a scene with someone
For sure.
and you're doing the tennis rally and they're just doing it cross-court and you're like, ooh, that was nice. And then you flip it back and you're in an amazing rally. And that's the bit I feel that's the root of the work for me. I mean, we've done it a couple of times, like,
And that hasn't
across
changed.
the net.
I
Yeah.
don't think that has changed. I think that's still very
But it
prevalent.
feels like it needs to move
But
towards some
in,
sort of
in
different form.
auditioning, it doesn't.
No, in
I mean,
audition
of
is a
course,
whole
we've done
different
theatre
Yeah,
and stuff.
but that depends on whether, you know, that person came from, you know, Rada Juilliard or I was an influencer and, you know, I have 15 million followers, so I'm in this movie with you now.
Yeah.
And super comfortable in front of the camera.
But Sam,
And totally,
Totally comfortable in front of
totally
the
comfortable
camera.
in front of the camera, not intimidated
But
by
Sam,
the
just
experience or
to give you
whatever.
a bit of comfort, it's a fashion thing. You know, that this too will pass. You
don't know,
and
man.
it will move into some other area.
I don't know.
I'm more of an
Well, the new area is what I'm
I'm
curious about.
more
But
of an optimist
in the
about.
work, surely it will come back to the.
Yeah, I
come back
think
to,
so.
like, I remember we did our first scene in the first Avengers movie, And, you know, I'd never met Sam before. He knew he's a completely iconic actor. And the two characters who are both very confident and not afraid of each other, Nick Fury and Loki. And it's a 3-page scene, 4-page scene.
It's fun.
And we both came ready, did our homework. And I was just listening and responding. And it was really exciting because I didn't know what Sam was going to do. We didn't have any rehearsal. He didn't know what I was going to do. And that's where the scene was born. It was like...
living, breathing.
Yeah, and then you did something, I remember, and it was extremely powerful, and I found myself going, ooh, as Loki. like feeling the sting of it. But yeah, and on our show for Marvel and Disney Plus, on the Loki show, I was across the table from Owen Wilson a lot. And we had so many sort of long, in fact, in the first episode, there's a long 25-page scene that's basically just an interrogation, a kind of analysis. And he came ready and I was ready and we did it across the table. And he said to me, I was just like, this kind of feels like a play. And he was so excited by it. He was like, this feels, it's the inner interaction.
Sure.
That's where the magic is.
But
I think that's that other thing too, though, where you meet actors now, it's like, that have never done anything from beginning to end.
Right.
In one night.
Yeah.
You know, they've never done a play.
It's interesting. I'm curious, more recently, when you signed on to do a series, I mean, were there things about these characters that you wanted to bring to it that perhaps were not in these scripts? And all of a sudden, perhaps you do have some creative flexibility that didn't exist in the films?
Well, you do at a certain point, only because you physically inhabit it in a way. They have a perception in their minds of what they want their character to be.
Yep.
And they hire you because you have something that they think you're going to inhabit that character with. And when you come and you fill that character up with life and you start to give them how that character thinks and feels, then everything starts to change around who you are.
And you mentioned, like Michael
the
was
story shapes around.
So what did you want to do? Okay, so you're going to do a Nick Fury series. Like what were you not able to do in the films that you can do here? What excited you about it, and what perhaps made you also a little nervous in the way that Oscar was saying he was?
Well, I can have a whole life as Nick Fury that's not Nick Fury at work. You know, we get to go home with me and see what happens with me at home, or when I'm alone, or you know, when I'm not so strong in Nick Fury, or when I, you know, take off a back brace because Nick Fury's old. You know, some shit, you know, things that you can do that you can't normally do because the character has to present this kind of front when that's happening. And that's what the movies are for. Yeah. And when you get to do it in long form, you get to show, you know, even superheroes have their down moments.
Not me.
You know? I mean, a down moment for you is an up moment. You're so up.
He's a down guy.
You know, but all those things are there and you have an opportunity to do it. And they give you that leeway to feel your way into that. Once they see you and feel you and know who you are, that gives everybody an opportunity to come and bring a personality. Yeah. So that was the thing about the Avengers. They all had different personalities and they were able to blossom once, you know, we got through the initial film. The initial film was to introduce these people to who they are, and these are the things they can do. Now, this is how they interact. They're not all nice, you know, because I used to fussed at them, I still fuss about Civil War, because I'm like, how could the kids fight and Nick Fury not show up? You know, they go, what's going on here? You know, everybody go to your room. You know? But they didn't need me for that. But they didn't.
But we're also at the mercy of the director, and we're also at the mercy of the script. And when you've got a great script, there's no problem. That feeds you, and that gives you all the mystery that you need to create the role that you want to create. When you have a piece of shit, and we've all done shit, and we know what we have to do to make shit work, we have to compensate, and it's not very satisfying.
I'm sure not.
You know, whatever you're doing, if you ain't got the words, you can't do the action. You know, that's it.
There's not a world where you take it and you make it something where it feels more satisfactory.
Well, you can.
There is that world,
but there is a world like that, but you're also compensating for somebody else's lack of talent, lack of ability.
It's more work.
Yeah.
But
it's fine, But you have to reach a point, or you get to a point, I'm sure all of us are at that point. I don't know if you are yet, where if a director says some shit to you and you go, I'm not going to do that, because that's not what, I would do. And, and that sounds like one of those, well, my character wouldn't do that. Yeah. No, it's not that. It's just that I don't get to go to the editing room with you. Mm-hmm. I've done what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. You go to the editing room. If you want me to do something different, you're going to watch the thing that you want to watch first. And if I don't give it to you, then you have to do what I did.
I think where we as actors get completely underestimated is in our literate sense. We are really surprisingly, intuitively literate. We know about subject, verb, and object. Yes. We really do. Yeah. We deal with that every day. And a lot of directors haven't a fucking clue, one way or the other, about that. They just don't know what it is because they're concerned about a visual thing. They're concerned about, which is all part of it, but they don't understand what the stuff
frame
is.
Composition.
What the stuff is, what the meat of the job is, and it's the meat of the job is in the script. Yes. If you don't have a script, you got nothing.
Sure.
I felt this absolutely the same as Sam. Having played Loki for I think 6 movies, doing the show was a risk in a way. Like what you were saying, I was like, I just don't want to break it.
Yeah.
But also there was this extraordinary opportunity to break him open. Mm-hmm. Take him away from all the things that people knew he was associated with, away from his brother, away from his father, away from his home, put him through this kind of Kafkaesque nightmare where he's confronted with all his cycles of terrible, destructive behavior, and to show him on the back foot and actually open him up, and this kind of very together, controlled character is someone who's always kind of thinking 10 steps ahead, completely vulnerable and unsure and confused and full of doubt, and in a way because he's got such a confronting silhouette, doesn't he? And to kind of break him down to this place of raw vulnerability and then build him back up through the story. It was I loved it. It was an amazing gift.
Do you approach like each character the same, or is it like, because 4 of you, I don't know if you have played superheroes, right? So it's
I never played a superhero.
I never played a superhero.
I played a supervillain.
Never played a superhero.
Right.
Nick Fury doesn't have any, nothing. Nick Fury is just a guy.
Okay, I got you. Is it
he's an influencer? He's an influencer.
He said he's an influencer. The influencer.
Well, you got, like Michael was saying, you find, or like you were both saying the same thing. You if you stood outside it for too long and thought about what it looks like in the world, I find it just too terrifying. Yeah. So you just ground it in what you know. Right. So when I first started playing Loki, I was like, okay, he's a son. I know what that is. He's a brother. I know what that is. He's got all this internal kind of pain, but he's masking it with something. I know what that is. And you find your own way through it. You build the mask, as it were. Yeah. And then you fill the mask with life.
You find the human parts of it. And you can't play this icon. Yeah, I feel like that's what I did a lot for Magic. Like I couldn't play this icon. I had to see how to play a kid, like at 20 years old.
That's very smart.
And and figure out what that looks like. And
did you watch the Apple series?
Yeah.
It's kind of whack. It's kind of out there, right? I mean, it's like watching, to be that big a personality when you're that young. It's
like at 14, 15, you got grown men coming up to you calling you Magic. That's crazy. That's wild.
Yeah. Or to have the principal of the school come to you to tell you're in charge of the racial unrest at the school.
Fix it. And then be
take care of it.
Cool.
Take care of it.
Like,
I got it.
What confidence does that take in yourself to be like, I got this? Like, and also be like, maybe I don't, but like I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's fun. It's a fun role. So.
I love that. Oscar, I want to come back to you. Your co-star in Scenes for Marriage, Jessica Chastain, talked about she had to go to a place that was so dark. And she's not sure she sort of can ever go to these places as an actress again. And I'm curious for you, if you felt any of that and how your sort of individual, your personal sort of boundaries shift with time, with experience, with success.
Like, before I'd be like, what limb do I have to cut off to make this scene 3% better? I'll do that. But I think that it's about inspiration, right? So, process. The whole reason process exists is is to inspire, right? And sometimes you don't need a wild process to be inspired by something. Sometimes the words themselves will do it. Sometimes the character is enough. Sometimes the situation is so harrowing that that's enough to inspire a whole history of a character.
Yeah.
And sometimes you gotta, what did he eat for breakfast? What did he do this? In order to try, to inspire some imagination and some sense of truth, right? Or some sense of some emotional, interesting thing. But boundaries, I think, are becoming more important for me now. You have kids, and time is the most valuable commodity. And I think with Scenes from a Marriage, the scenes themselves, that was so harrowing about it, not so much the character.
Yeah.
Also, it mirrored a lot of things in my own life, just like literal things. Like I'd be reading a bedtime story to the young actress that's a 5-year-old with a little bunny lamp, and then go home, arrive just in time to sit in the bed with the same exact bunny lamp somehow and read a story to my 5-year-old. It just starts to fuck with your head because we're just a human being, and so that's a weird situation. And so it was after a while. I think also just all the nature of it. It was right in the height of the pandemic. It was in this factory in the Bronx that had been turned into a studio. It was only like 60 people. And these were very long. Almost every shot was like a 30-minute take, like long. Yeah. It felt like a weird hybrid between theater and TV and film. And it with someone that I've known for 20 years as well. So all those things created a very uncanny situation that I think going back, I probably would have been a little more mindful about, like, a little clearer boundaries. And the truth is, even if it wouldn't have been quite as real or good, I'm okay with that. I'm getting better with that idea that I don't have to cut off a limb just to make it slightly better. It's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
but yeah.
Do you know what? You don't have a choice. It's in you somewhere. You say, I'm going to cruise on this one.
Yeah.
First of all, it's impossible. You get there, the work's the same, man. You're going to do a 15-second ad for something, for Vaseline. You say, okay, man, I'm all in. Because for that minute, I don't know how to not be all in. If I'm here, I may as well do it. Every time I think I'm going to cruise on this one, I can't. And that's why it's in you somewhere. It's just, you can fight it all you want. You can say, I ain't just going to do it. But somewhere, it's in you, and you're done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can say
you're going to work one day.
You can say,
I'm going to market.
Piece of cake. Piece of cake. I got this. And then you get there, before you know it, you're like pissed with the fucking director because they're not doing this. And it's taking too long to do some shit. It's like, God damn it, this is important.
Yeah.
No, it's not important. It's not important.
The late great Bill Hurt. That's what he said to me. Is like, before every take, I tell myself, you're going to die. And then, because
he did.
And he did. Eventually he did. But he knew it, but he reminded himself before every take, just like, this is a chance, this is my chance to be alive.
Yeah.
I have to be alive.
That's the
now.
risk, isn't it? Like you were saying, when you get the four scripts, or as it were, on your desk, and you have to choose one, like, you risk every time. And I suppose this is how, you have to look yourself in the mirror at the end of it and go, did he give everything you had? And that's the thing that.
Well, first you got to be a person who actually watches your work.
That's how you learn.
How do you know if you're good or not?
Right.
Yeah. But there's a repository of things. I'm a cinephile. I'm a junkie. I watch movies all the time because that's what I did from the time I was a kid. I watched movies, black and white movies, all the time. I do Robert Mitchum sometimes when I'm in a movie. I do Cagney. I do old people. That I watch in movies because that's who I watch.
I love the old character actors. Jimmy Gleason. Jimmy Gleason, who plays the cab driver in Bishop's Wife. That whole sequence.
There's a stylization to that kind of performing, right? That didn't necessarily reflect natural life or realism.
In a way,
I don't know about that, Oscar. I think we've got different. There's whole life is different, but people did speak a lot faster. People did speak like that. We've done, and we actually speak faster than we think we do sometimes. We think we're so we take our time over stuff. But when you see those actors negotiate a script brilliantly, and with such speed and such dexterity, and it's real. It's more real. It's as real as anything. You know, the idea that Brando discovered reality, I think, is a nonsense. You know, that, you know, other actors in the 30s were doing. I mean, if you look at Gary Cooper, if you look at Jimmy Stewart, I mean, there's sense
Well, I think there's a difference between
was
truthful and realism or naturalism. You know,
Well,
I mean, something can be super truthful and still have a heightened quality of like incredibly literate, you know, incredibly articulate. You know, and so it's not a. And I wonder if like it's time to in a way move more in that direction, because being natural in front of a camera is not very special anymore.
Well, Montgomery
It's not
Clift,
enough.
James Dean, and Brando changed everything. Those guys changed everything, in mostly a really, really good way. But I agree with you. I look at some of the things, and you'll see some old performance, and you know the kind of things that probably years ago I didn't laugh at, but I would go, "Wow, look how people did that. I enjoyed it, but look how crazy that was." And then I go back and I look at it, and I see something that kind of just knocks me out.
Absolutely.
You see a subtlety in there. It's like, oh my
Absolutely.
God. Yeah, right. It's like
Craft, really. I think it's the craft, you know. I mean, and that whole thing with Montgomery Clift and Brando and all, it started in the 20s, and it's been 100 years when you know, the Moscow Art Theater first made it to New York, you know, and began this process that it's like that's what modern acting is now, right? It's been the same ideas for 100 years.
But the great thing about television, and I've thought this a long time about certain rules or any rule, if you're doing a play every night, there comes that point where you hear yourself, where your character is saying something, and you hear it totally different than you ever thought you'd hear it. You go, and I'm asking as much as saying, you say, "Oh, I've actually misinterpreted this thing."
100%.
I've actually misinterpreted.
I absolutely agree with you.
But how great is it you get the chance to do that on night, you know, in the third month of your
Well, this
your
is where
run,
people
you
underestimate
go,
the theatre, for example. They think they think the theatre is endless repetition. It isn't.
It's not.
It really isn't endless repetition. You're rediscovering it every night. And also, the important element in the theatre is the audience.
The audience.
Yeah.
When the
They
audience
make you do something
they
different
make us do things
every
in a certain
night.
kind of way. You go, you know. Like I had a director once who said, you know, when I was doing Strange Interlude on Broadway, and we were getting a lot of laughs, and the director was a pain in the ass. He said, you know, please don't let the audience hijack the play and take it to Cuba. And I said, what the hell are you talking about? I said, they're enjoying it.
They spent their money.
They're enjoying it, and they're feeding us, you know, and it's life, it's going, and it's vibrant.
You know what's an underrated form? Sitcoms.
Yeah.
Sitcoms are an underrated form, because as bad as some of them have been and are, if you really watch what you have to do in 22 and a half minutes or whatever it is to tell the story, and it is a little bit of theater because there's a live audience and all that.
Yeah.
And then to be funny on top of it, so when you see it done well, it's kind of tremendous.
No, I think that's right.
Absolutely.
Oscar had said something earlier when you're talking about sort of the lengths you'll go. I'm curious, you guys are at places in your careers where you can afford to be picky. You can afford to say, I won't do that. I'm curious for what those things are for you guys. Is it a type of character, to nudity, to whatever it is?
I won't shoot outside my house anymore. No. So.
I've just done a thing. I've just done a thing where I had to be nude.
And?
I wasn't nude.
Really?
I had a body double.
Yeah, really?
You know, I'm 76 for Christ's sake. Mind you, the guy was. No, I mustn't say anything. but that was, you know, that was something I thought. I don't know, because I kept saying to the director, do I really have to be nude? And I'm supposed to come on nude. Not only am I supposed to have nude, but I'm also supposed to have an erection as well.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
There's some acting.
You know, that was really acting. You know, so I just said,
Come on now.
I was working with Lisa Kudrow and Edie Falco. I said, let their reaction tell you what's happening, rather than what I have to do.
Yeah, and if they're weeping, then you know.
And that's where your experience comes in. So things like that. The huge difference of what happens now television's always been TV because it's a different kind of camera.
Yep.
But in the movie business, you know, once film stopped being used, it's a whole nother kind of business. You know, because I work with kids who have no idea how much it costs to make a movie.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to send the film out to be processed every day. Go to dailies the next day.
So interesting. So here's a question, because I've only made a couple of movies on 35 millimeter. Was there a greater sense of stakes when the camera was rolling? Was there a sense of like, was there, because when it's digital, it's like you can keep the camera running, reset, do 3 in a row. But when there was film in the camera, did you feel that elevation of like, okay, we're going now. We don't have rolls and rolls of film out the back. Let's get ourselves ready. Let's go.
There was a director that
Can't
was
do
like,
18 takes.
Yeah.
No. And then print 3 and 7.
Well, it depends on the director.
Right.
I mean, it always depends on. I mean, if you work with somebody like David Fincher who does 38 takes, and he's only noticed the acting by take 12, and by then the actors are saying, "What the fuck's going on?
What's wrong?
You know, I mean,
What exactly is wrong?
What's actually wrong? I mean, Mark Ruffalo and Anthony Edwards and Zodiac had that problem, and they couldn't believe it because we go through 38 takes, and they kept saying, "What's happening?" I said, "He hasn't noticed you." He doesn't notice you until take 12, and then he says, "What's happened to the actors?" Well, they're bored. They've done their, they've shot their load. They're bored.
Yeah. Because one of the things that I used to think about was because as you were saying, I come from the beginning of my career was just all plays in the theatre, Shakespeare and that sort of thing. And when I started doing on-camera work, I felt this sense of like, here we go on the first take. I noticed that a lot of people around me were like, we'll do another one. But that feeling of when you're in the theatre, it's like you walk out and that's the take for the night. And that sense of like, get ready.
Film acting is like shooting a rifle. You better get it right.
Oh yeah,
you don't have another night.
Yeah.
that actually was one of the hardest things for me, the transition to letting it go that night, going home from set. And being like, that was it. And I know for a fact I didn't get it, and I didn't do the thing I wanted to do, and that was my chance. And
right.
we don't get that.
But do you conversely?
My favorite word in film is rap. That's my favorite word, is rap, when it's over. When good, thank God, we don't have to do that again. It's done. Let's move on to the next thing.
I've now gotten to that place, but it took a long time.
But then
It takes a while to get the crew to pay attention to you. I mean, you have to be really doing something for the crew to stop and go, oh, shit.
If you get it, that relief of like, I'd never have to do that again. That's that's that moment done. If it's a very emotional thing or a very difficult thing and you've got it, and you're like, okay, I can leave that there.
Yeah, but do you go to the monitor to watch it? I never even go watch. It either felt right or it didn't feel right.
Well, the whole business of monitor watching is something I really hate.
It's horrendous.
I really hate it. I think I got tongue up. I nearly probably got cancelled for this. But a young actor we were working, he ran to the monitor. I said, "Don't do that." I said, "Really, don't do that." I said, "Because you're killing your impulse. Trust yourself. Because what's up there is it's something different from what you've just done.
What you just did.
What you've just done. It's not the same. And I know you're thinking, I want to know what my effect is. Don't worry about that. Trust yourself." And of course, that's what that whole, because, monitors were invented by Jerry Lewis. He invented the monitor. Did you know that? No. Yeah, he invented it in order to monitor himself when he was making movies. So that's why the whole video thing came in. But you see analysts run up to the monitor. I say, "Please, you're kind of ruining something for yourself."
Yeah, I'm not a monitor watcher.
All right, we've come to the end, so I'm going to ask, what's the type of part that you haven't yet played that you love Hollywood to sort of see you as? Is there a dream role?
I want to play a king.
Yeah,
like a period king of some sort. Specifically, Mansa Musa.
We manifesting it right here.
Yeah, and give like a big monologue speech to the entire kingdom or something.
That's great.
I think that just feels good.
I think you're right.
Yeah, so.
I'm paid to see that.
Yeah. What about the rest of you? Is there something you haven't
I want to play
yet? Can't do that
I think we're making a movie right now. I mean,
I'll play the fool.
Somebody will watch it.
I'll play the fool. There's always a fool in the king's court.
I just want to laugh more.
You want to laugh?
Oh, yeah. I'm fed up with drama.
You play a lot of villains.
I'm fed up with drama. I'm fed up with heavy stuff. I just want comedy. I just want to laugh. When I switch on the tube and watch it, I'm looking for a laugh. Especially at my age, when the end is nearer than the beginning. So
Can I say something?
I just want to laugh.
Fuck off.
like that.
People find Succession, some people find Succession very funny.
Oh, it is. There's some
No,
great.
it's funny, and that's
And
that's
he
the
makes-
enjoyable side of it because
Incredibly hilarious.
It's
they're
the
so-
edge
they're-
that makes people laugh.
They're so
'cause-
naughty. Everybody is so naughty in it,
Yeah.
but no, it's very enjoyable.
That's what I watched while we were making Scenes from Marriage. Is I would go into my dressing room and watch Succession to like relax from the intensity.
No,
of it.
the Succession
so
family
good.
is a wonderful family. I have to say, it's just a great cast.
Phenomenal. What about the rest of you? You're looking at me like I'm crazy because
There's
you played
so
every.
many, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't you
Not
feel that
every,
way?
but I just don't think about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just kind of read a script and go, oh wow, this looks like fun, and I'll do it. But people go, we really love to see it in a rom-com. It's like, okay,
Well, yeah.
I got to read it first.
Yeah.
For me,
If
it's
I
more
read it
about
and it strikes me,
people,
I'll do it. I don't
like
care.
People I want to work with.
So who are you
as
desperate to
opposed
work with? Who's still on the list?
I'd love to work with Michael.
Oh wow, thanks, man.
You know, I mean, it's more about the people.
Sure.
That you get a chance to be with
And
and
it
learn
is,
from.
I think you're right. You see, I think this is about the community, and especially our show. It's an ensemble show, and the more ensemble it is, the more satisfying it is. You know, I love that aspect of it.
It's a team sport, the ultimate team sport.
Yeah.
We rise together.
Yeah.
On that note, thank you all for being here.
Nice hanging with you guys.
Yeah,
Thank
likewise.
you. Yeah, yeah.